All right, we're doing a test. Good morning, everyone. Welcome. All right, we are welcome live. Go ahead and mute this. And all right, everyone, welcome to the finale of September is Significant. Thank you so much for joining me, whether you have been here live early in the mornings or you are catching this on the replay. So before I jump in, the title of this one is Supply Your People, How to Operate in Consistent Self-Expansion. So very quickly, I'm going to do like a little recap and then I am going to jump right in based on some things that I saw, of course, on Threads. And then we are going to wrap this up because we have another series to prepare for. All right. So the first thing, remember that we started off with let me go back. First of all, go to the welcome video so you can understand the breakdown of the nerd side of statistical significance and your personal p-value, and that is going to help you understand where all of this is coming from. Okay, so the first one we talked about, set up your vision, how to detox from thinking small. I'm not going to go through every single, I'm not going to go to the nitty gritty of everything because I want you to go watch the videos. But you do have to set up your vision. I told you before the reason why we started off with this one because I saw an issue in the personal development, which I now call personal leadership, that you all know because I got that from another coach. And the personal development or the self-help space, all of that, a lot of people are thinking that it's still woo-woo or that it doesn't help or it's a scam or any of that. And I believe a lot of people are not getting the results that they want from those whatever programs. And I told you they're not all really coaching programs. They're more like consultant types of programs is because you haven't filtered the information through your vision, the big vision of yourself, the big purpose. And let's not make purpose this elusive thing. You know, you have this desire. It's going to take time for you to sit with it and start uncovering some things, but things will start uncovering once you get into action. And if you're a believer in Christ, ask. Ask Holy Spirit to reveal some things to you, and then you can start operating in that direction, and God will course correct. So let's not get all hung up on, oh my gosh, I don't know my purpose. Yes, you do, but start doing something, and the more you get in action, the more that you'll get some traction, and then you'll start seeing some things. But you have to filter your lens through. So one example, I'll talk about me wanting to be a speaker. So I worked with a couple of speaker coaches and being on stage and all of that, and I want to be like really big out there, not just with my communication or even showing up here. I want to be in arenas and everything. I still do, but then I struggled because I spoke a lot, especially if you all saw me like when I first came back around in 2020, 2021, 2022. I was like on everything speaking, but it was like there was nothing happening. And yeah, I would get on stage. I think even last year I spoke in front of 100,000 people online. And then it was like, well, nothing came of that, per se. And then that's because after I finally let the dust settle and get back into alignment with me, the things that I was talking about, they weren't in alignment to the big vision or big mission, and I share with you all is about bankrupting the a billion burial plots, live your life poured out above ground before you go underground. And if you go on my LinkedIn, that's where I'm focusing now. I talked about from fired to fierce and how I was fired twice in a year, and then I was still able to, show up and be me and do the doggone thing, right? And still help others to do that. So all this time I was speaking, I wasn't even talking about that. I even wrote a whole book, Embracing Grit for Greatness, Becoming Professionally Powerful Through Personal Empowerment. All of that. People still like asking me things like, how do I do this and that and the other? But every time I was speaking, it really wasn't connected to those things. So I learned a lot of skills, but I didn't get as many of the high level speaking engagements that I wanted, but it has something to do with me. So that's what I want to share with you all. Whenever you go work with someone, whether it's me or someone else, or even if you just want to just do everything on your own and watch a lot of videos or read a lot of books, it has all the information that you're gathering has to go be filtered through your vision, because that goes with your values, your belief system, and that is going to determine what action you're going to take, what you're going to implement and execute, so forth and so on. All right. So that's why it's important to start with your vision. And we're talking about a big one. This is the importance of working with someone who can see beyond what you can see, because your vision may be too small. And like I just shared, bankrupt a billion barrier applause, meaning helping a billion people live their life poured out. I have no idea how I'm going to do that, but that moves me versus, well, what if I can do a million people? And I know you might think a million people is a lot, but there are people on social media that have a million followers. At one point in time, there were a million people had eyeballs on them, right? So a million is not really a lot. That you can make something, you can do that pretty much on your own with a small team. But anyway, I'm getting too far off topic. All right. So set up your vision, and then I said separate your list. How to quit like a pro. We talked about the difference between acting like an amateur and acting like a pro. Only pros, like professionals, can do your show up and do your vision and carry out your vision, even if your vision is supposed to outlive. Well, your vision is supposed to outlive you, but even if it outlives you, there are things that you get to witness, operate, be a steward over, but you have to show up like a pro in your actions and in your thinking as well. So there are some things that we discuss on how do you separate either yourself from those things, separate yourself from people who are acting like amateurs, and so forth and so on. And then we talked about secure your time, how to personalize your productivity. There are a lot of information out here online about, the best hacks, the morning routines, this, that, and the other, and all of that. There are a lot of tips and tools. And I say try them, give them a try, see how it works for you, about 21 days or so. And if it doesn't work, that's fine, but you have to do what aligns to you. I wake up early in the morning. I know that there was a person who's big in the speaking industry, and he would do this thing at like 4 o'clock in the morning. He was like, if you're not up at 4 o'clock in the morning or 3 o'clock in one of those, I think it was 3 a.m., then you're not really, living life. You're wasting your time away. For some people, they needed that. For some people, they do need to get up that early and make things happen. But that doesn't mean that the only way that you can make things happen is if you get up at 3 a.m. or 5 a.m. or things like that. So you have to pick out what works best for you and what supports your vision and all the other aspects of your life. And then we move into lesson 4, stand on your story, when to use self-esteem versus self-confidence. A lot of us have not taken action towards the big vision. So, you have your big vision and you do have your goals and intentions, because those are the things that you accomplish with deadlines and things like that. But a lot of us haven't done that because of what's happening in our head, what we've been telling ourselves about whatever part of your life. This isn't just about, business and career and things like that. There are about 15 areas of your life that you can explore. So this is not just about, that aspect of what you're telling yourself about business. It could be what you're telling yourself about family, having friends, money, partnerships, your creativity, your intellect, anything. So what you have to do, like I said, is you go through the steps that I talked about in that particular lesson, and you start reframing that story. And I know you hear it a lot, and it's a big thing in the self-help space, but it's also biblical. Like you can't change what happened, but you can change your perspective on it and your response to something that happened. So like I said, like I got fired from two jobs in a year, like my career and then my consulting contracts. They fired me. And so for a long time I sat around like, oh gosh, like people, first of all, I was angry at them. Like, how could you, this, that, and the other. And I was angry at God at one point. I was like, you put me here, you set this up, blah, blah, blah. And then I was like, you know what? What did I learn from all of that? What was the best thing about that? If I was not fired, I probably would have stayed. I would have stayed in a place where I no longer belong. So they released me to do what I need to do. God allowed them to release me because he knew I wasn't going to go on my own. So it doesn't change the fact that I was fired. Well, they told me separated. That doesn't change the fact of what happened, but you see how I'm standing on that story instead of letting that define me. That's an example. And then self-confidence, one of it has to do with you yourself, and the other one has to do with your skill set. Go watch that video. A lot of us are searching for confidence, and it was like confidence is easy to obtain, right? Learn something, get good at it, and and be competent in what you do. When you're competent, you're confident. All right. So then in lesson 5, I said mastery is service, how to be instead of do. That's really why we started with the vision, because it's not about doing the vision, it's about being the person who can carry out that vision and the mission, the purpose. God designed each and every one of us to do uniquely what he wanted to get accomplished in the world, even though it could be 1,000 realtors, 1,000 doctors, 1,000 coaches, 1,000 consultants, or millions, just put millions on all of those. Whatever it is, there's something unique about you. And you have to, the only way that your people are going to pay attention to you is if you show up and be you and serve and be that person for the big vision. So you're thinking forward. It's forward thinking of who do I need to become. So in the Bible, and I already heard this, but I heard it again yesterday from Bishop Wayne Malcolm, and also from Myron Golden, but I just heard it recently from Bishop Wayne Malcolm. You have to be, do, have. And a lot of us are focusing on having, and I have to catch myself. It's like, okay, I want this to get done, and this is kind of life I want to have, and this and that. And it's like, whoa, slow your roll. That's not the point of all of this. Who do you become? Who is the man, the woman that God created you to be? How do you show up and be that person no matter the situation, no matter what you do, no matter what you have? Who you be is always who you be. What you do can change, what you have can change, but if you be who you be, then you'll be able to do what you need to do, and then you will have everything that God has assigned for you to do. We all have it backwards. Well, a lot of us have it backwards. We want to have all the things. And when I have all the things, I can do all the things. And when I do all things, I can finally become the person. That is not what that's talking about. So you have to be instead of do. And that takes work, that takes intention, and then that takes practice. And then we go down to lesson 6, steward yourself, trust how to follow your instincts, self-explanatory. A lot of us do have our internal GPS. For those of us who are believers, we have Holy Spirit. And if you take time to listen just as much as you listen to either my videos or somebody else's videos, shut everybody else off and tune in to Holy Spirit, and Holy Spirit will tap into your star player. And then when you know that, then you'll be able to filter through who's there to support me, lead me, guide me for my next step. Again, going to any of these programs that you're signing up for or advice that you're seeking, it still has to be filtered through you. You're not going to somebody because you don't know. There is something that you need to know, but you know if it's going to align with you or not, or we should know. But if a lot of us have gone into experiences and we're like, oh man, invested that, well, some of us say spent money, but we've invested that money, we didn't get the results that we were desiring. Well, if you take a step back and really review the situation and scenarios, there are probably warning signs to tell you like, hey, this is not the time, or this is not the person to invest in, or this is not the route. You probably were impatient and things like that. So consider that, follow your instincts, state your tolerations, how to deal with unmanaged frustration. That is huge when we're talking about what your statistical significance. This is really the part, that the sneaky part, that 5% of the data of your frustrations, you're probably thinking like, oh, the drunk drawer or the closet, or the thing in my car is not a big deal, or this nagging friend that I have around that they don't really do too much, but it's just like a little gnat. Those are the things that are keeping you from being the person you need to be to execute your vision. So it's the small things, those unmanaged frustrations, that 5% that we need to deal with. And those are things that you can't control because you tolerate them. So if you tolerate them, you have to state them and then get them out of your life. Spotlight your dreams, laser focus. I said, are your dreams big enough? This is where it can start dwindling down, but you still have to keep that vision ever before you. Now, you can have a dream, but then you want to make sure that it is something tangible that you can get done. Yes, your vision, it should outlive you, your legacy should outlive you, but there are things you can put in place. Let's not get so caught up into not into keeping it so big, you want to ground it with some of those tangible things that you were actually called to do, things that you're assigned to do, things that need to be done and moved on. Example, writing a book. It could be great. Oh, I want to be an author. If you've been following me at New York Times bestselling author is still on my list. But then it's one thing to have that vision or idea, but if I never wrote the first book, then what are you doing? If I never like talked about it or, shared it, then uh then you're not then your dream is too small. Like if you just say I want to write a book, that doesn't align with your vision. So when you shrink into the small thinking, then you have to be around people, or there's more about being around people who can remind you of your dreams and to challenge you to dream even bigger. Then I was about to say episode lesson or episode 9, we talked about scale your momentum, how to speed up success. Success needs speed, money is speed, everything is fast. And a lot of us like to take our time and things like that. I think that we've been in this delusional state and we've taken a lot of things out of context. First of all, trust that God can do things supernaturally quick. And there are scriptures in the Bible, quickly, swiftly, he uses those words. But then that means we need to make decisions sooner, quicker, faster. And the sooner we do that, then that's how our momentum gets sped up. Things are happening when you speed up. It takes so much energy to get started all over again. That's why I like to batch create content, because when I have that momentum, I can go. But well, lives are a little different. But when I want to crank out videos, it's better to batch create like 10, 15, 20 of them at a time if I can, versus trying to do something every week, because it's like, okay, I got other things to do. And you can do that in any area of your life. See the money. What is your money story? Huge, very important. A lot of people, and that's what I'm going to get into when I talk about supplier people. This is the big thing that keeps a lot of us from going after the vision or being the person who can lead that mission. Is because we don't talk. A lot of us are afraid to talk about money, or this also goes to dreaming too small. That goes to small thinking and things like that. Tolerations, all of that can be filtered through. It all stack on each other. And you need to understand your money story, because there's no way that you're going to be able to do your vision without, well, not do your vision, but operating your vision, operating your purpose without resources. Either that's coming from you with the business on your own, or that's you learning how to network and build relationships so you can have it funded. It's all going to take some sort of money. But if you don't deal with your internal issues with money, then it's not going to happen. So, I'll save that part for something else, because then it goes into supplier people. Then lesson in episode 11, we talked about snowball your failures, how to expect failure. Failure, I know we say it's feedback, but it's finding answers in life. Finding answers in life. And if you treat everything like an experiment versus, I mean, yeah, you do want to have high expectations, but you want to expect things to work out. But if you're not there yet, then you can treat it like an experiment and learn from those things. Remember, we talked about you can't be grateful for the lesson and hate the teacher. You need both of them. So go ahead, get this stuff out, snowball it, let it go. The more that you find answers in life, the more you fail, the more you get the right answers for your course, your path, your vision, your mission, and things like that. And then we talked about showcasing your brilliance, how to turn up your wattage. You can do all of that and still have, dim your light. Like, what is your light? The essence of you. In the beginning, God said, let there be light. And when he said, let there be light, I believe, and you've heard me say this, or you've heard someone, other people say this, he gave us permission to shine. But what does that really mean? Everything about us, all of our learned brilliance, our born brilliance, things that make us quirky, unique, our personalities, that is what we shine. How we think, how we dress, how we look, the things that are coming out of our mouths, all of that is, we need to shine. And that's how we attract the people who we're supposed to lead, love, and guide. And then that's how we are drawn to other people who are supposed to lead, love, and guide us in certain areas of our lives. But a lot of us are not operating at maximum wattage, because either our light is too small and the people who are there supposed to help us, they can't come to us, or the people that who need our help, they can't find us. So this is where I talked about being the lighthouse instead of a flashlight that moves every time. The lighthouse is steady. The lighthouse is bright. The lighthouse it attracts. It doesn't go searching for the ships. The ships come to the lighthouse. So you want to be a lighthouse. And in order for you to be the lighthouse, we got to do all those other steps so that you can stand firm and let your light shine. So now that we are here and we're now that you've worked through, and I will be doing a deeper version of this for your personal leadership program. And there will be some level of deep coaching because some of this does require deep coaching, not therapy. We talked about that, or counseling. Those are different, but deep coaching, how to keep you moving forward, but really do that transformational inner work. You really need to do that. A lot of people are trying to do surface level work and put, cover up wounds and things with band-aids. I don't want to say wounds like that, but cover up your thinking with band-aids of this surface level help, and that's not going to move the needle forward. That is not going to get you the results that you desire. There are people out there teaching tactics, and those tactics are great. But if you're like, why am I? It seems so easy if all I have to do, like, let's talk about business. Business is what? Getting offers, no, getting leads, making offers, converting people, uh, helping them so they can come back and they can ascend to something else. It's really like four moves and or four things that you can do in business. So simple, but what keeps us from there? Same thing. You got something that people value, tell them and tell them how much it is, and then they buy it and then you give it to them. That's really all business is. It's either going to be a pain or desire. Same thing with friendships. Be nice to people and be there for people, support people. And then it's like, well, why is that so hard? So every little thing, if it's a tactical thing, the tactic, the practical thing to do is simple. But what keeps us from doing those things are those internal blocks. And it goes deeper than the unmanaged frustrations. But anyway, I said all that to say is some of this takes deeper work. It doesn't take long. It doesn't have to take long. And that's another side that you have to think about. If you're spending so much time uncovering and doing all this deep work, then you're not really doing what you're supposed to be doing. You're supposed to get to a point, dig a little bit, then go to the next level while you're still, moving and uncovering things. Like you go into forward movement. That's what I want to say. All right. So all of that, now you got to this point. It is still possible for you to still be the lighthouse, still attract the people with all of that and not supply your people. You can get to the point where the people are coming to you, they're drawn to you, they're coming, but you still aren't supplying them. And this is why. And it kind of goes back to similar your money stories or your frustrations or things like that. But it's really about focusing on the things that don't matter. There are two things on threads that I'm going to bring up. One was if you are a believer and you've grown up in church, or you started going to church and there was a poll saying that, do you think you should charge for the things of God, something similar to that? And majority of the people on the poll, I don't know how many, but when I looked at the thread, it was like about 2,000 people at the time that I looked at it. And majority of them said that they think it's wrong for you to charge for godly works or ministry. Some of you could be still stuck at that point, even if you've done all of that work. Now you have to work through your head and heart connection. Well, first of all, I can't tell you yes or no. I said I don't think it's wrong. That was me, because I'm gonna give you a story, an example. When I was attending one of my childhood church, and I had all this knowledge and I wanted to come and do a summer camp. I used to work at a summer camp for them for a couple of years. Best thing ever. And then when I came back, I was like, you know what? We need to up level this summer camp, because I would listen. You would hear people feedback, and I was like, the quality of people that they have ain't it. In order for us to get quality people, these people need to be paid. Now, when I worked at the summer camp, we did get paid and we did charge parents, but what they were charging was so ridiculously low. And so, of course, I did all my research, like the nerd that I am. I did all of the research and things like that, comparing, different camps and things that can be offered, this, that, and the other. Short story long, I was like, this is the price that we need to pay. We need to pay an application fee, and then they need to pay this weekly. And trust me, it was still under what the market was charging. And I was like, well, I didn't want it to be a too big of a jump from the pennies they were paying. And I know like for a lot of the parents, it was, that's all they could do. But for majority of the parents, if you knew what church I attended, this was nothing to them. They were getting off. So I'm not even talking about the parents that really needed it. I'm talking anyway. So I was like, it needs to be this price. And I even broke it down. This is not about paying me, even though I am going to get paid. But this is about the quality of people that we want to attract. And I know for the people that they're going to give up their summers, because a lot of the people that I wanted to attract were educators, and not to have them for the full day. I had a whole thing. I said, but we need to pay them. They were pushing back on the cost. Well, we are a church, or we shouldn't be doing this and that and the other. And I was like, I attended church business meetings. I saw budget and line items. So don't tell me that, we shouldn't charge when this is a whole business. Church for the most part is a business, right? And so it it didn't work out that way. And for a long time, I still got little scars. I'm still working on it because God has not let that desire go from me. But it was still like, why can't we supply the people because and get them the high level of service that they need. And there was another side of it. I was like, I didn't want this just to be just a summer camp. Like the reason why I wanted the teachers to come is or the educators to come, because they all weren't just classroom teachers, is because this is the time to enrich the kids, educator background. This is the time to enrich them. And then the second part of the day, they can have fun like real summer camp. But anyway, but it was a whole pushback on not wanting to charge a higher level. First of all, they didn't want to charge anyway. And honestly, the camp was losing money. It cost the church money to do it because they were charging peanuts and pennies for it. And so I brought that up and say, if you're in that place and the people are coming to you and you've done all this work, it is your duty to supply the people and to charge for it. Now, some people are getting all deep. They're talking about, well, I don't want to nobody should be charging for deliverance and and services. I don't know anything about that. But if you learn the skill or you have this talent, and especially if it's a service that they need, you have every right to charge for it. Then people are like, well, you shouldn't charge that high. That's between you and God, but this is your rate. If you want to discount something, cool. But think about this. If I know from my church in particular, they would pay these people to like come in, whether it was speak, run a conference, whatever. Then it's like, well, there are people who are in the church with these same gifts, if not better gifts and talents, but you expect them to do this for free because it's ministry. No, same gifts and talents. So if anybody, I want to say that if you are hung up on that place, that is small thinking, that is something that Satan is blocking you from your blessing, and it is your duty to supply the people. And th- remember, if it's aligned with your big vision, resources are required, and you make the decision. That's between you and God, but I'm freeing you from that. So that's one thing, why you need to supply your people. The other thing I saw on Threads, and this was just this morning, it was like people who call themselves mentors. If you haven't, uh, if you just start, if you're a new mentor or something, and you just, let me see if I can pull it up because y'all know it be changing. Okay, how can you be a mentor when you just launched your business? That's what somebody said. And you can. So supply your people. If you are new, if you are like, you know what, I'm open up shop, I learned some things, I want to go and help and teach others. This doesn't necessarily mean that everybody needs to be a coach. You don't. This could be, you could be teaching somebody, you can be consulting a business, you could be uh making bread. So it can be a plethora of things. So don't get caught up into the whole thing that you need to be a coach, even though I have a challenge where I say learn to lead and leverage your expertise and your experiences. That's not always through coaching. There are 5 skill areas that you can do that through. But I said all that to say is because you might be hung up on that. You may have something to supply people. You've done all of this work, but because someone may not see you as the mentor or like you just started, if you've been on this planet for a couple of decades, you've already learned some things. You may have been in another sector, you may have been somewhere else, obtaining these skills, working on that. God has been preparing you even before you realize it. And if he's telling you to start a business, and again, business doesn't always mean coaching. But if he's telling you to start something, he's already prepared you, or he will continue to prepare you. But you have to supply your people right now where you are, and don't get hung up on what you're being called. I know for me, when I really got into this, it was 2020 before I got fired. I was so hung up on what to call myself, strategist, coach, life this or transformational that, low level thinking that kept me stuck or kept me just spinning in circles, because it was like, who cares? Who cares what people call you? Can you supply what I need? So I'm telling you now, don't spend your time. I don't care what you call yourself. I'm a solutionist. I was like that, point blank period. I don't see many people saying that. That's what I am. I help people solve problems the best way possible for them, right? Well, best way possible for the vision that they want, because for you it may not feel good, but it's for your vision. So you need to do it. But don't get, and God gave me that a long, long time ago, but I was like, I don't hear anybody say it. It goes back to trusting your instinct. So all the stuff that I'm telling you about and helping you through is stuff that I've done on my own. Just like when I taught math, I never presented a problem that I never solved. Or if I didn't fully solve it, I knew, all the things behind the things. Anyway, so don't get caught up on that. Your people need you, whether that's dog walking, whether that's renting out properties, whether that's opening up daycares or summer camps or things like that. Your people need you. So don't get caught up on the small things of what to call yourself, because that's another way Satan blocks us from our our vision, our mission, and our blessings, right? Because when we pour out, God is going to be there. That is how we get into continued self expansion. The more that we empty out all the things that no longer serve us, put into like really perfecting and honing in on our skills and our crafts, because we can't just keep winging it out here. All right. People are getting smarter and smarter. We can't just keep winging it. So the more that you expand your knowledge base and your skill set in multiple areas, the more valuable you will be for other people. But you have to continue to do this work. I know for me, one time I stopped. I was like, oh, I got it. I've been through, some retreats, some really deep coaching, got a whole certification in transformational facilitation and coaching. I know all the things. And then I stopped. And then it was like when I stopped doing the work on myself, then things started coming up and it hindered me from supplying my people. So you have to constantly self expand. I told y'all over the summer, I put myself in summer school on learning a different skill set and certain things. And part of it is some other stuff, but I still had to do that regardless of what was going on in my personal life. I was like, let me still find a way to expand and invest in myself. So when the time comes for me to be back in front of my people in the track, I will have more to give them. So you're going to be in this constant place of self-expansion. I did a video somewhere on my YouTube channel where I did a demonstration about self-expansion. I need to bring it back up. So I used to hear a lot, serve from your overflow, serve from your saucer. And, it's like if you're poured in and you're filled up, and I believe all of us, especially if you want to be a leader, and for your personal leadership, your tanks in all those 15 areas of your life should be filled to capacity somewhere. Now, it's not going to always, because life, you don't have to be operating on max speed in every area, but if you're going to be a leader, then you need to have some fuel in all of these buckets. So when they say serve from your overflow, there should be enough of you that you are filled up, that when you give to someone, you don't feel depleted. There are a lot of people who are in the coaching and consulting space, or even the speaker space, where every time they go out and they put it all out and help people, or they do a session or a training, they're so drained and depleted. And it's like, you know what? You shouldn't be. Now, does your body get tired sometimes? Yes, but I've seen people, and I've done this myself, where I would do workshops 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, just on, and then come back on and do a video. And I'm not saying that, look, of course your body needs rest, but when you're serving people, then it should be to a place where you can give them everything and you still feel like you're let me know if you know what I'm saying, right? So I'm not talking about the physical exhaustion. Like you're human, you can't just keep running on fumes. But when you don't feel like, oh man, I just gave them everything and then now I have nothing left to give. No, you should always have something to give. So anyway, how you do that is because you expand your bottom container. So when you when you serve from your overflow, you're filling yourself up, you've gotten rid of all the junk, you're getting love, you're getting support, you have your resources, and now you're giving to other people. But because you're so full, then when they get your leftovers, which is still pretty good. But when your leftovers should come into another container, because let me see, how can I say this? You're expanding your container. So if you start with a saucer, that's what I want to say. If you start with a saucer, then you can't, it's like it's only so much of overflow that people can get. But if you expand your saucer to a plate, then your plate to like a board, a big serving board, chopping board, and then you expand that to a bowl, then it's a lot more overflow that come in because you're constantly expanding. You're expanding your capacity to learn to be, do, and have, and that way you can continue to serve others and supply your people because you're in a constant place of self expansion. You're constantly learning, you're constantly transforming yourself, you're constantly becoming who God has already created you to be. The problem happens when you think you have arrived and you become complacent. I was just on another training where people have had success and people are like, well, this worked in 2020 or this worked in 2022. But it's like, well, yeah, but if you haven't learned anything else or if you haven't grown yourself, then you can't supply what you don't have, right? So I wanted to share all of that with you. Let me know down below what your takeaway was from all of the lessons, but especially this part, because it is a disservice if we don't supply the people that God has placed in front of us, especially if people are supplying us, right? And if you are not doing what God created you to do, especially when you know it, did you know that it's a sin? I just did one on Threads similar to that, but it's in James 3 and 4 through 5 or James 4, one of those. But if you know what you're supposed to be doing and you're not doing it, that is a sin because God created you to do something and you know it. And for you to just say, I'm not going to do it because of your own personal self, then who are you to yeah, who are you? And when I say that, I'm saying that to myself. It's like you can let your personal stuff get in the way, but if God said, I want you to talk about this particular topic, I want you to do this particular video, have this training, start this business, do this challenge, write this book, write this story, go buy that property, whatever it is. But if keep letting my internal mess, the messiness in my mind that's keeping me from the manifestation of the money. And manifestation, don't get all weird. That's just allowing the intangible to become tangible, right? So if you're letting your mind mess get into the way of the money or the manifestation, then it's your fault and you're doing, and that's a sin, and that's doing a disservice. And then you're gonna stop trusting yourself, and then you're gonna start blaming God. And God's like, nope, I already told you what to do. So when we don't do that, then we're making everything about ourselves. So the reason why you start with your vision and the reason why we're ending up with supplying your people, it only takes 5% of the data for you to shift and move forward to have these quantum leaps. That's the beauty of all of this. It doesn't take much. It doesn't take much, right? Just like it doesn't take much to stop us, it doesn't take much to keep us started. And then that's how we gain that momentum. But we started those things because you have this vision to supply those people. It's very simple, like, oh, I have this because the people need it. It's the stuff that's in between that we have to work through. And it's the stuff that in between that we take personal. And if we keep pointing it towards us, then we're making our vision about us and then we're making the people about us. And it's not. And then as I was reading, and I'm going to wrap this up, as I was reading and making my insights on Threads, I was like, you know what? That is selfish of me. First of all, to think that, oh my gosh, what people are going to say, I don't feel like it, or what if it doesn't work out? That's low level thinking. But when I know that I'm just a steward and God is in control, that takes a lot of pressure off. I can supply as many people because it's not coming from me. I'm just a vehicle, I'm just a vessel. We say that, but we don't act like that. And if you really hone into being a vessel, then that does take a lot of pressure off. God operates and just tell me where to go. And it doesn't care if no one likes a video. It doesn't care if no one signs up for something. Like they will eventually. But if we go in thinking, you know what, I did my part, God, it's you. And really let that scripture, I think it's Colossians 3:23, commit my plans to the Lord, commit my work or plans to the Lord, commit my works to the Lord, and He will establish the plans. One of those, Colossians 3:23, I think that's what it is. Hey God, I did it. Go do you. But a lot of us say, okay, God, I need you to do it and bless. I need you to put it together and bless it. But He gave us dominion. All right. So I know I've been talking. Thank you so much for listening and learning me. This is the final day of September. It is significant. I hope you've enjoyed. Let me know which one was your best takeaway, your best lesson, and any way that you want to connect with me, learn more, anything, everything is down below. And if you like this vibe, go ahead and subscribe, leave a comment, share. Don't be a hoarder. Share the video so that you can help me grow, help the channel grow, and then let people know that this is the content that, that's giving you some life. All right. So thank you so much for listening and learning with me. And wherever you are, whether you're beginning your day or ending your day, remember to be well, to be empowered, to be bold, and to be brilliant. Until next time, stay tuned for our next series. And yeah, bye.